All right, guys, this is a big one today, a massive story coming out of the LCS. We have already heard a few stories, about Flyquest and players leaving Flyquest. We've heard about who their jungler isn't going to be. Again, Inspired leaving, Yukino choosing to stay over in Europe, but we have had many questions about who that next jungler actually was going to be, and it looks like today we are finally getting the answer to that question. Sources Griffin set to join Flyquest in the LCS for 2026. This is not something I expected. This was not necessarily one of the names we'd even, heard being floated around and stuff like that. Obviously, it wasn't, seems like it wasn't necessarily, Flyquest's first option either, but still a very, very exciting one, and a one that I think fans should actually be pretty hyped up about. This story coming from Wooloo, LCS, Eevee, and Alejandro here, the whole team, like I said, always hard at work. They've been grinding, really, really happy and, proud of the work everyone's been doing, but here's a big story. Again, he might not be staying with Loud, but this is going to make some noise. A super, super hilarious, subtitle of this thing. But Jungler Griffin will join Flyquest in the LCS next year. Sources are telling Cheap Esports on Saturday he will replace Inspired after the player decided to join Lion instead. Griffin, who has just completed his first split in LTA South with Loud, thus finds himself with the reigning champions of the region. After only one split in LTA, Griffin's performances caught the eye of many teams. Loud made an offer to try and keep their player, but without success. Flyquest and Dignitas also made an offer to the young American Vietnamese player. He ultimately accepted Flyquest's offer and will join the team for the 2026 season. After a disappointment in Worlds, where the team was eliminated from the Swiss stage, Flyquest decided to part ways with Blippo, but the team then lost two key players from the previous year's roster, with Inspired leaving for Lion, and then Busio also leaving for Carmine Corp. So that's two, very, very important pieces of a team that was one of the best teams in the West last year, not only leaving, but then also needing to be replaced. So, we are kind of in that rebuild mode for Flyquest, a new era, and getting, a jungler like Griffin, I think, could be a really, really cool player to build around. So I think this is awesome news. Flyquest was primarily looking for a replacement for their jungle position and initially turned to Yukino from KCB. Although there was an agreement between the two teams, Yukino ultimately decided to continue with KCB. After that, Flyquest then turned to their second option, which was Griffin. The team also considered Furia's jungler Tatu. And I know that a lot of people were maybe expecting Tatu to be the team's next jungler. Again, this was a name that I believe Wooloo had floated out before in videos or on streams or something like that. And then I think once, it was announced that ThinkHard was going to be the new coach for Flyquest, I did see a lot of people being like, oh, okay, well, if ThinkHard's coming, then Tatu's going to be coming as well. But no, it seems like their second option after Yukino actually was Griffin, and they were able to get this deal done. So again, they didn't have their first option Inspired, didn't get their second option obviously in Yukino, but their third option does seem like it was Griffin. It seems like they were able to get this done. That is very, very exciting news. Although Flyquest didn't manage to get Yukino, they turned to another profile of a young player with Griffin. Having passed through the T1 Academy in 2024, the jungler joined Loud for the third split of LTA South. The young talent quickly distinguished himself with his skill and proved to be very up to par for his first split in a major league. Despite this, he and his team narrowly missed out on qualifying for the LTA Championship. Griffin is therefore taking a big leap by directly joining Flyquest, a two-time LTA North champion this season, where he will attempt to continue the team's dominance in the region. Now, again, this Flyquest team is not going to be the Flyquest team we have seen over the past couple years. They're not going to be the Flyquest team, who just is coming off these championships, these world appearances, all that stuff. But this is still a very, very good organization. Again, this team does still have great resources. They still have a talented team around them as well. Again, the team that we are now expecting for Flyquest in 2026 is Gatgos in the top lane, Griffin, Quad, Masu, with ThinkHard as head coach. Again, we still don't know who that support's going to be just yet, but this is not going to be a bad team in 2026. Yes, they are rebuilding. Yes, they're probably going to be taking a step back in 2026, but there's still a ton of talent and a ton of potential on this team, and I think Griffin, like I said, is a perfect pickup. And obviously, if it's somebody that Papa Smithy and the staff over at Flyquest believe in, then that must mean this kid, we know he has a ton of potential. Again, coming through the T1 pipeline, seeing what he can do in the LTS or the LTA South. I don't know why I said LTS. LTA South is super, super exciting. And I know people are disappointed about a talented NA player in Yukino leaving to Europe and talking a lot of trash about NA and stuff like that. But now being able to bring a very, very talented player back to North America and have a team and a roster to build around him and hopefully develop him for the future is super awesome, super exciting. Again, I was not sure who the next Flyquest jungler was going to be, but I think this is a perfect choice and a perfect opportunity for both Flyquest and Griffin to start building towards the future. So I don't know, as an NA fan, I'm super happy to see this deal get done. I think this is super awesome, and I can't wait to see what Griffin and both Flyquest will be able to look like in 2026. Pretty much it for this video today, guys. Hopefully catch the next one. Until then, peace.